Oh, hey, everybody. Welcome to Rebel Roundup. I am your host, Sheila Gunn Reid, and I'm joined by my regular Tuesday co-host, my beloved real-life best friend from beautiful Regina, Saskatchewan, Lise Merle. Lise, how's it going?
Hey, Sheila Gunn Reid, and hello, Rebel fam. What an interesting week we already have in Canada. What we have a laundry list of things to talk about that are just grinding our gears, just
Oh,
getting us all whipped into a tizzy, and we just can't wait to unpick it with all of you.
yeah, I'm trying not to turn into Bonnie
Critchley?
Critchley. I was going to say Bonnie Crombie, but she's the mayor of the failed state of Mississauga, if I recall
Yes.
correctly. I'm trying not to turn into Bonnie Critchley and just get real crotchety about the state of our country and the things that are going down. And actually, every time I feel a little bit down, we'll show everybody the clip in a little bit. I like to look at this interaction that Tamara Ugolini had with an OPP officer, and I'm like, oh,
It's
oh,
not the world actually does have some right side up parts that we can all
yes.
participate in because this clip that Tamara Ugolini got is absolutely one for the ages. Okay. We are compiling an awards ceremony for right the Independent Press
Yes.
Gallery of Canada. We're going to have an awards ceremony, and one of the guys in Tamara Ugolini's video is nominated for an award. Okay, it's that good. It's that
We
on
should
point. Like,
have like law enforcement
uh-huh.
officer of the year or law enforcement defender of civil rights or something.
Yes,
But this cop was having none of being abused by the system. He was like, no, this
we're
is
not
not
doing
how
this.
this is not how you do it. By the way, we did not plan our matching hairdos. Mine, I'm just having a disagreement with my hair today. And
It's
so
windy where we are. It's windy
it's
where we are, and it
straight up
shows.
windy. Yeah, it
Yeah.
sure does. Let's tell everybody what we're doing around here, and then we'll get into the news of the day because it is uh, Justin Trudeau's National Surfing Holiday, Truth and Reconciliation Day. For those of you who don't know, some kids have the day off, and otherwise, parents are keeping their kids home from school. I know a couple of those also. But it is National Truth and Reconciliation Day, the day that Justin Trudeau uses to go out. I imagine he's somewhere in BC, probably Tofino,
Uh-huh.
enjoying some tasty waves.
Uh-huh.
But we are discussing the news of the day, completely unscripted. And boy, there's a lot of news over the last 24 hours. A lot of it is coming out of Rebel News. Alexa Lavoie with quite the story. We'll talk about that in a second. But if you want to support the work that we do here at Rebel News out of the goodness of your heart, unlike what Mark Carney makes you do it, the failing, insufferable, and frankly liars in the mainstream media. And I can say that because I'm working on a story about that with the CBC. Um, you can watch us on Rumble. If you are doing that, thank you for supporting a great free speech platform. Their paid chat there is called a Rumble Rant. If it's over $5, it's necessary that we read it on air. If it's under that, we'll do our very best to get to it. But Lisa and I have something else that we have to do right after this. Don't worry, it's also for you guys, our beloved viewers at home. But we have to film something else afterwards. If you are watching us on YouTube, well, we are remonetized there. God only knows for how long. But if you want to leave us paid chat over there, there's super chats and same rules apply, but also you can leave a super thanks. That's your paid comment. And I know some of you send those after the fact if you are unable to watch the live show, but you want to help us out in the little ways that you can. And we sure appreciate you for it. So, Truth and Reconciliation Day. This is a day made up by Justin Trudeau um, in response to the discovery, and I use that with heavy quotation marks, discovery at the Kamloops Indian Residential School.
Yes.
Kamloops Indian, yeah, residential school. Kurs. Of course, as you know, they said there was over 200. Initially, they said 200 children in a mass grave. Imagine what kind of
Yeah.
ghouls it would take to do something like that. Well, according to the media and the government, the Catholic Church,
Yeah.
um, that, instead of young men and women who had given up their lives in pursuit of a vocation to go to these far-flung places where there were no amenities in service of their Lord and the children. No, these people, according to the state, were mass murderers. But that wasn't true. And to this day, there, despite the holiday, there have been no remains found at the Kamloops Indian Residential School. Not one
Yeah.
at all. Not a
Yes.
bone, not a tooth, not a nothing.
Same goes for Saskatchewan on the Cowessess First Nation, where it was reported that over 700 graves had been found. In partnership with Sask Polytechnic, which is one of our post-secondary trade schools. They went in there with their ground penetrating radar. They identified over 700 unmarked graves. And Justin Trudeau came burning to Saskatchewan to kneel in a field with a teddy bear to mark these
Right.
unmarked graves. Now, Cowessess first, I think the residential school was called the Maryvale Residential School, and even by small Saskatchewan graveyard standards, Sheila, like 700 graves, that is an expansive, humongous space. So anyway, I'm going to go hunting around for some archival aerial photographs of the area to see if we can stitch this story together a little bit better, because the more you learn about this story, the more you have to acknowledge this has not been proven in any capacity.
But even
The
with the
entire
callousness one, okay, so callousness, okay,
there he is.
there
There
it
he is
is.
on
There it
Cowessess
is.
First Nation. Yeah.
Where do you think they know where to put those little markers? That's an actual community graveyard.
A Catholic graveyard.
A Catholic
Yes.
graveyard. The Catholic Church knows where the graves are. These are unmarked graves, as in their headstones aren't there anymore. Their wooden crosses are not there
Or
anymore.
they may not have had one. Back in the my
Right.
great grandmother is in the Regina Cemetery, does not have a gravestone, was buried in the dirty 30s where there was
Right.
no money for nothing. So I mean, to say that these are all victims
No.
of abuse and or murder is wildly
The
irresponsible.
callousness
And this
one
is
is outrageous because they're like, oh my God, there's 751 unmarked graves. We know exactly where the graves are. They are simply unmarked. It included people from Cowessess First Nation, the greater First Nation area, but also
and the whole community.
the whole community, because
Yeah.
the Catholic Church was there, the Catholic school was there. So if you find a graveyard out there in the wild, generally there's a church nearby.
Yeah.
And that's just how it worked. And so
That's true. And all children in the area went to that school. My hairdresser's dad went to a day school. Went
yeah,
to the day school. So
yeah.
this wasn't just a thing that happened to First Nations children. This happened to all children were sent to school, and yet we manufactured this entire hoax around
Callousness
this
is
claim. It's crazy.
callousness is especially bad because they know the truth there and they're just running with it anyway. Like the Catholic Church is really great at keeping records. In fact, before your birth certificate was held by the government, the
It was held by
Catholic
the
Church,
church.
it
Sure.
was held by the church, and you didn't actually have a birth certificate. You had a baptism certificate,
That's
and that was the
right.
proof that you were born alive, is that you were baptized. And so they're actually really good at maintaining these sorts of records. So the callousness is an absolute lie, but the vagaries of curse and the evil that spawned from it, over 100 Christian churches, most of them Catholic, vandalized or burned to the ground in the wake of that. And Justin Trudeau and his buddy Gerald Butt saying, "I understand why it happened." Sorry, I don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't understand why you would burn down a church, at all. But there have been no bones discovered there, and yet we still have this day today. We've got Mark Carney, of course, reflecting on this. I just want to point out one thing when Mark Carney talks about this.
His dad.
His dad.
Mm.
Okay, so I was like, what is that animation? I thought it was a chicken flying. Hang on. It says, today we reflect on the tragic legacy of the residential school system, honor the children who never returned home and the survivors who carry their stories. As a nation and as a people, we pledge to build a future rooted in truth and equity. Okay, all sounds very nice.
Except for your dad was participating in the tragedy, was causing the tragedy. Like, are we forgetting about that, Mark? Because I'm certainly not forgetting that your dad worked at a residential school. Like, I'm not
No,
forgetting that in any way. And you know
he
what?
is. He
So,
wants us to. This is
well,
gaslighting of the highest order.
of
If
course, and even First Nation is so funny, Sheila. I saw a comment online that was like from a First Nations activist who was like, that you don't believe what they say about Mark Carney's dad. That's just something they say on Rebel News. Like, this is common knowledge. This is
it's
common knowledge. It's
common
what
knowledge. He was very public about it. He was a scholar on the subject of residential schools. And here's why I take a nuanced approach to this is because, yes, there were bad. Oh, he just looks like his old man. Um, Either it was all bad or there was a more nuanced idea of
sure.
residential schools that bad things happened, other people saw some benefit in them. But if it's all bad, then your own dad was a
Was
cog in the
bad.
machinery of
That's right.
evil.
Yeah,
And
was an evil man.
I just don't believe Mark Carney thinks that.
No, I don't think so either. And it's real convenient how he can straddle the two, right?
Yeah.
How he can be a product of the evil that he's claiming to have existed back in that time. Really, you're blaming your own dad for this and recognizing his evil deeds. Is that what you're doing, Mark? Because it kind of sounds like it.
Yeah. Like a more nuanced approach could be like, yeah, bad things happened. It
Yeah,
in modern times we probably would not have done things the same way, but
but we
many
are.
people but
But we are
many
doing
people
things the same
yeah,
way. The crazy thing is that uh, survivors, residential school survivors, their whole claim is that their culture and their identity was stripped from them from the school. You know what I mean? The children were robbed of their identity and culture by the school and by the state. Well, kids that are going to schools in Canada right now are having their identities and culture stolen
yeah,
under the guise of radical gender theory
right.
right now in Canada, yesterday, Scott Moe and the government of Saskatchewan made a big deal about making a public apology to the people or to the students, the former students of Ile Lacrosse a boarding school, I think it was. Millions of dollars paid out by the federal government. Okay, the federal government is shoveling money at these people for having their identity and culture taken from them. Well, how many billions are we earmarking for the poor little kids that are getting wrapped up in radical
Yeah,
gender
start setting
crap?
it aside
You know,
now.
the best start saving.
Yeah,
Best start saving, because this is the exact abuse that they claim ruined an entire, no, more than one generation, multiple generations of First Nations children. Okay. The exact kind of abuse that they claim ruined multiple generations of First Nations children is also the same kind of abuse that is happening in Canadian schools right now under the guise of radical gender. So
right.
make it make
What are we
sense.
telling those kids? That their parents are dumb rubes and
That's right.
don't have their best interests. And look at us. I'm a teacher. I'm from the state. I'm here to help. And don't do what your dumb
Yes,
rube parents think. Their
that's right.
ways are backward.
The language that your parents use is abusive. The language that your parents use is backwards.
Yeah,
It's toxic. It's like fill in the blank. They are separating children. There's no greater sin than separating children from their parents, and that's exactly what they
for
did
sure.
then, and that's exactly what they're doing now. And to think the same government, the same liberal government that
Same
did this
ones.
in the era of reconciliation are doing it in the era of gender, and nobody is calling them on
Actually, I
it.
think even more money is being thrown at it
Oh,
now.
way more,
Way
Sheila
more.
Gunn Reid, way more, because then you add in, so you add in the cost of education. You have to add in the cost of healthcare. You have to add in the cost of social
Yeah.
services, of shelter spaces, where these kids are like, you wouldn't believe it, but when I told my parents that I was a different gender, they kicked me out of the house and said I wasn't welcome to live here unless I was coming back to reality. And so the government then funds the shelter spaces so that these kids have a place. No, send them back to their parents and say, listen to your parents, for God's sakes. Like,
Right.
it's time we start giving these petulant, belligerent children a spanking and a nap. Okay. And send them back to their parents. You were your parents to deal with until you're 18 years old, and the government needs to stay out of all of it.
Well, and the government has made it illegal for you to say, actually, no, you're not. And maybe you need to
Right.
speak to somebody about that.
Oh, that's when social services comes in.
To
That's when
speak to
social
somebody
services comes
about
in.
that is actually illegal in this country. Let's just keep moving on the
Okay.
truth and reconciliation stuff, because then, of course, there's Gary and Nanda Sangari. Go get him, Tiger. Gary and Nanda Sangari, our public safety minister, who cannot deal with issues of East Asian gangsters because of his relationship with the Tamil Tigers, to the point where the Sri Lankan foreign ministry was like, don't sign those nomination papers back in 2014, Justin Trudeau. But Justin Trudeau,
he knew better.
He wanted the fundraising from the Tamil community.
Sure he did.
So he sold us out for the fundraising dollars to the Liberal Party of Canada and the reliable votes going forward. Because there's no other reason why someone as stupid and as inept as Gary Nanda Sangari is in this very important position. And Mark Carney knows that. Like, there's everybody, there's no, there's the talent pool is quite shallow on the Liberal side. But there were other options than Gary Nanda Sangari, who had to recuse himself from South Asian crime files. Like, for sure. There were other people, but they're like, he's the man for the job.
He knows how the criminal networks work.
I guess
there's
there's expertise on that side. But anyway, Gary says, today on National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, we honor those who never came home, survivors, their families, and those affected by residential schools. May we reflect, listen, and commit ourselves to the ongoing work of reconciliation. Okay, that's delightful. But might I tell you that a very similar system is occurring in China right now, and these guys continue to do big multi-billion-dollar deals with China that should be done in Canada. So to the Uyghurs and the Christians, but like the Christians, they just rewrite the Bible and they appoint our bishops and do terrible things like that to us. But the Uyghurs, so a Muslim minority that is very far away from the extremist Wahhabist mosques. They sort of are developed in isolation over there. Very peaceful. Their children. So their women are being forcibly sterilized. The men are being taken off to work camps where they'll make your Nikes for you. And then the children are being taken to residential schools where they are, sound familiar, stripped of their names, given Chinese names, and then not allowed to speak their mother tongue. And are robbed of their religion. They have their Qurans taken away, and they are taught the state function of atheism. So there are residential schools for little Uyghur kids in China, and Canada has no problem doing business with these guys while scolding Canadians for some sort of generational wrong that I didn't do. I didn't do it. Well, right now, this is happening in China, and we are sending billion-dollar shipbuilding contracts to these people. So I don't care about anything Gary and Nanda Sangari has to say on these issues.
Me too. Seconded.
Okay, great.
Next.
Bang the gavel. Move on. Danielle Smith, I'm prepared to listen to her on this because we've actually created an entire government agency. I think it's the Indigenous Economic Opportunities Agency, something like that. Anyways, that couples Indigenous bands with oil companies and helps them develop their resources to end the dependence on government and generational poverty in their own communities, because
incredible
oil and gas is in their communities. You don't have to go to Edmonton to get a job anymore. You can work in Fort McKay and make $200,000 a year. I think it's a delight. So let's hear what she has to say. Today on the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, we honor the survivors, their families, and their communities. We honor the painful history of residential schools and commit to the work that follows listening. And that's action. Okay, I'm not mad about that. Um,
Okay.
okay. I would also add excavation,
Right.
but
That's the one thing that's missing from this entire thing.
let's hear what
But
deceased. Sorry, go ahead.
Sheila, like in the new
Hmm.
country, okay, in
Hmm.
the new country, we're not going to have colored shirt days. We're not going to have national holidays that look like this. We're not going to participate in this tomfoolery. We're going to just all be neighbors, okay? Good neighbors and friends. We're just all going to work together. But this insane focus on what happened 150 years ago is not going to be at the fore. Okay, we're going to be so busy planning our future that we're going to have no time to ruminate in this way in the past, because it's not good for anybody to ruminate in trauma. It's no good for anybody to constantly just wallow
I don't like it.
in this pity. It doesn't help communities. It doesn't heal. It doesn't heal generational hurts, and it doesn't forward our communities. So
Well,
yeah, in
well,
the new
and
country, we're not going to do this.
part of truth and reconciliation is the first part, truth. Let us. I will acknowledge wrongs have been done, but I do want to know the extent of those wrongs, and no one is getting there,
Well,
right? Like no one.
because we haven't had excavations. And what's crazy is archaeologists can dig up bodies from 1500 years ago and tell how they died. Okay,
And
you
what
can
they
actually
ate.
tell. There is so much to be gleaned from this information, and yet you'd be hard pressed to find a single government official put a spade in the ground to solve this great mystery, because they know that what they said happened didn't actually happen, and that's why they're hesitant, and that's why they'll never do it.
Well, you know, of all the things the UN is terrible at, they're actually quite good at figuring out what happened in a genocide. They're not great at stopping the genocide. Don't get me
Right.
wrong, ISIS, Rwanda, where do we go on? Um, but they are pretty good at figuring out who did what, why, where, and who the victims were. In fact,
Right.
they're really good at figuring out who's who in the mass grave.
Yeah.
Bosnia, the Croatia, the undoing of Yugoslavia. They sort of stood at a distance and were like, what's going on over there? And then they come in after the fact and do the forensic examination. So if the Canadian government doesn't want to do this, why isn't the UN coming in to do it?
Right. Well, because the UN is too busy upholding Palestine right now. They've got much, much, much more important things to
It's
do
almost
than
like
this.
they know
Yeah.
that this is not, they're not going to find what they say they're going to find. By the way, don't get me started about the UN and Israel. Where they were monitoring the Syrian civil war from? I actually found the location at the top of the Golan Heights because I was hiking up there at 3:40,
Really?
3:45 in the afternoon. I'm headed up to like this little peak in the Golan Heights. The guy from the UN is coming down.
Shush.
Banker's hours. They're watching the Syrian civil war from this little perch, binoculars,
Oh
from
my.
the safety of Israel, the place where they criticize all the
Right.
time. They were watching the Syrian civil war from the top of the Golan Heights, from the safety of Israel, without setting foot in Syria because we might have to do something. So they sit in Israel where they know they're going to be safe and then criticize Israel and say, we're observing the atrocities of the Syrian civil war. Yeah, from where?
Yeah.
From where? Yeah.
Right.
Oh, and quitting time, 3:45. I'm hiking up all excited and he's burning down. Able to get into the UN truck. And I was like, this is just the perfect, perfect synopsis of the UN
Yeah.
versus Israel. Oh, and by the way, I'm not going to take any advice from the feds about what truth and reconciliation is, while Canada's Indigenous peoples have zero accountability to them on reserve. We don't know what their leadership is doing with their money, and that's hellraisers from within the Indigenous community asking those questions, and it behooves us all to work towards the same transparency that we have in our communities. They deserve that as our fellow
They do.
Canadians in their own communities. We should not settle for corruption ever, not federally, not municipally. And that's how I
Agreed.
look at Indigenous communities. There's just a municipality like Lamont, like Strathcona, like Regina, and we have a right to know why the potholes aren't getting fixed. That's while
Mhm.
the mayor is rolling around and Escalade and all of his friends and family have all the uh sole source contracts. You know,
Right.
like if that happened in our communities, we'd hit the roof and we should demand better for our Indigenous friends and neighbors. But besides that, this government blocking all the resource projects that would lift
Sure.
them out of poverty in their own communities. Um,
Sure.
it's economic reconciliation. I think Chief Billy Morin, he's no longer chief, he's MP for the Conservatives. He always talks
Nice.
about economic reconciliation. Let these communities have the same opportunities to build their futures as the rest of us. And there is no better way to do that than through the resource economy.
That's a true story. We've let
Yeah,
the federal government run things for the last 120 years, and how are those things going on First Nations reserves?
right.
Have you driven through one recently? Have you looked at crime stats recently? It's not good. Like reserves are what happens when the government says, "We're here to help and supply you with everything you need." No clean drinking water, gang violence,
Houses
other
falling apart. Yeah,
deplorable housing conditions. Absolutely no emergency response services. Like these places are not safe communities, and that's because the federal government has managed them for 120 years.
right. Or allows the mismanagement of them. So
Right.
the federal government says, here's your money.
Here's your bag of cash, chief. Here's your bag of cash, chief. Make sure everybody shows up on voting day.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And we just wouldn't stand for that in other communities, and we should not accept that for our Indigenous friends and neighbors. That's true reconciliation. Let's go hear what Charlie Kirk, deceased civil rights leader Charlie Kirk, had to say about the hoax at the Kamloops Indian Residential School. He said, hoax confirmed. After claims of mass graves of Indigenous children at residential schools across Canada, no human remains have been found after 2 years of excavations. Let's just say that there have been no excavations at
Right.
Kamloops at all.
Yeah.
Canada didn't have racial guilt as a founding myth, so it invented a genocidal atrocity to atone for. Remember, 83
True.
churches, and this is an old tweet. This is from 2023. It's more than that now, have burned down or vandalized over this, and Trudeau said they deserved it. He said he understood it.
Yeah, he said he understands the anger of First Nations people
uh,
because Canada does not have a history of slavery. Okay, so we couldn't use that sort of Americanized, like America has weaponized its civil rights battles based on racial lines. You know what I mean? Canada didn't have that, and so they had to
no.
invent something that was, well, arguably more atrocious. I mean, there is nothing more atrocious than the thought of little kids being murdered at school.
Oh, and
And
we're
remember,
by the villains of the Catholic Church.
thank you. And remember at the time, the prevailing sort of um, speaking points were there should never be a graveyard beside a playground, right?
Mhm.
And the truth is, it was all one big community complex back in the day, and that children were not whole scale murdered in these places. They were not.
Right.
So
My friend Michelle Sterling, who is not Catholic, from Friends of Science, it's unrelated to her Friends of Science work, so don't write her letters at Friends of Science about this, but she used to work in employment counseling with a lot of Indigenous people. So she has a heart for Indigenous people and people who are struggling and people who are in poverty trying to become something better.
mm,
But she also used to do work with archival history.
Mm.
And she has been such an advocate, and like telling the stories of the Catholic priests and the nuns. By the way, the peace between the warring tribes in Alberta was brokered by a Catholic priest at Wetaskiwin. Wetaskiwin is a word that means where the hills where peace was made. And I think it was Father Lacombe who did that.
Mm.
Um, a lot of the Catholic priests had a real heart for the Indigenous people and were there to serve them. And you had a lot of young men and women leaving their families in Eastern Canada and making the horrific trudge to the wilderness of Western Canada with nothing
Right.
except their faith and a commitment to the people they were there to serve. And they're really being maligned in all of this. And I find it quite despicable.
Yeah, it is. It
Um,
really is.
one thing, just before we move on, we'll hit an ad break. By the way, Tara is in our promo for the Toronto event, and she's delighted. She is
I
delighted.
can't wait. Are we going to see it?
Yeah, we'll show it.
Oh,
But I put it in the chat, Olivia. They did actually excavate in Edmonton.
they did.
And people are like, where did they go? They were never there. They're just like, I love this headline because the other headlines are like excavations complete at the Charles Camsell Hospital grounds, which was the site of like it was a tuberculosis hospital
Like
also.
a sanitarium or whatever? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
And
Okay.
so people would be brought in from the north and they would be exposed to such things as sunlight and vitamin D and fresh air to
Right?
to help them get over their tuberculosis. But it was an Indian hospital. And so
Okay.
um but it was also a hospital for everybody that had tuberculosis in the
Yeah.
north, and you would come there and they would bundle you up and then put you outside. Like those pictures of people in their wheelchairs sitting all bundled up outside at the turn of the century, Charles Camsell Hospital.
Okay.
Um, they did 34 excavations at the hospital grounds. After ground penetrating radar pointed to anomalies, um, no bodies, no bones of any kind, no human remains. So that's a good thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, like for me, I would be like, that's a great thing. That means they were given Christian burials elsewhere, and that's wonderful to hear. But he goes, no, no, where did the bodies go? They're just
It's a
so caught
mystery.
up
It's a
in this.
mystery.
Have you
I
tried the
mean,
cemetery?
no one no one knows. They just robbers in the night, maybe, grave robbers came and picked them up and took them
We,
away because
as
Lord knows the grave robbers are super after tuberculosis victims. Okay, this is what this is huge on the grave robber um itemized list of things to look for.
I want to
But
just continue
they
in this
weren't there.
story
Yeah, please.
because then I'll give you a little snippet of Catholic theology why you're not going to find bones scattered all over the place if this
Okay.
were done by Orthodox Catholics, which I think a nun or a priest might be.
Mhm.
He's shocked that there are no bodies just strewn about the property. He says he still believes there are unmarked graves somewhere in or around Edmonton. Why, you ask? He bases that off telephone, telegraph, tell a friend over 100 years. Honest to goodness. Stories he's heard about people disappearing. This is what prompted excavations. Rumors, stories,
Mhm.
and accounts from former staff members he's spoken to directly about things that happened in the hospital. Who are these people?
Right.
Who are these people? Did you confirm that they ever even worked there? That they were just flinging bodies out the window? This is what you want me to believe?
Yeah, and relying on historical memory is so laden with pitfalls. This is why in court these things often come out in the wash where somebody's memory over time will erode what actually happened to suit the bias. And so this is what's happening here with this guy. This guy has a bias
Buy it
and
because
he's seeking
he's
out the stories that validate his bias.
they
That's
dug up 34 spots on the property based on rumors that he believes to be true.
Well, and the
This is
ground
like being
penetrating radar, right?
this
And
is
like
like being in a cult, though. It's
yeah,
like being in a cult when the doomsday doesn't come. You just say, oh, you know what? We forgot to carry a 1 in our calculations. And wouldn't you know it? It's actually 3 months from now. It's okay. It's like he just doesn't want to realize that these rumors had no truth to them. So now he's
yes.
like, you know what? There's somewhere else. We got that part wrong. It's like, no, you probably got it all wrong. Now he's like, okay, well, maybe they're not here, even though I heard rumors and stories that they were here from people who said they worked here. So they must be somewhere else in Edmonton. Like he's like, where are the bodies? And it's like, maybe there weren't any. Did you think that maybe that part was wrong too?
Mm-hmm.
And he says a lot of evil stuff went on here. This place, in my opinion, should have been burned to the ground or blown up.
Wow, that'll sure help Christian persecution in Canada saying things like that. That'll sure help churches from burning to the ground and from people being
Exactly.
harmed and abused. That'll help. Those kind of opinions. Good, good, perfect.
You couldn't give me a place to live here. I wouldn't live here. Too much horror went on. Instead, actually, the hospital has been it's going to be converted to condos after it's
Oh,
bulldozed down. And it's owned by a local architect who, get this, paid more than $200,000 to aid this man in dispelling him of his delusions.
holy Hannah.
He
So in
said,
order for the developer to come in to develop the property, this had to be this had to be investigated to the nth
out
degree.
of the pocket of the developer. The feds didn't fund
Sure,
this.
sure, to make sure that that's an interest. You know what? That's an interesting take because the government would not fund it. They don't want to find empty holes. Okay, because then their whole story falls apart. The whole hoax falls apart.
Yeah, the
But
developer
that
did this out of his own
huh,
pocket.
that's interesting. That's real
And
interesting. Saskatchewan had a tuberculosis sanatorium too, and it was bulldozed. Oh, it's got to be like 10 years ago, but very, very much the same. And I don't know if there's a graveyard on. I'm sure there has to be. There has to be. But nobody's claiming that there's any residential school survivors in it. Certainly not.
I don't know what he thought that they were doing with the people who passed there. Like, I don't understand. But he says they're just in and around Edmonton somewhere. Okay, go back to the rumor mill and ask them where the bodies are because they told you that they were on site. They're not there. So where are they? I don't know. But this developer seems like a decent dude,
Hmm.
knowing that he probably couldn't build there without getting rid of this rumor. And I think he was probably
Without question, he this was a regulatory requirement for him going forward with his project, like,
uh, I
without
think
question.
it might not have been a regulatory requirement because I'm pretty sure the city has records to say that they weren't there, and I'm pretty sure the Catholic Church had records to say that they weren't there.
Uh, so it was
But
like he was trying to just put to bed a rumor. Like
um,
societal pressure, he had to bow to societal pressure before he could develop his huh.
it's like arguing with a schizophrenic about their delusion, right? And the things that they're seeing. It just can't work. It just doesn't work. You're not going to convince them that
Right,
that rat is not telling them to blow up the armored car. You can't convince them of it. They'll just say, well, then it wasn't the rat that told me that. It was the horse in the corner over there who
right,
got that idea from the rat. Like
right.
it's crazy, but the developer says, I think we owe it to those families to search these grounds. Good dude. To find truthfully whether they're here. I guess we've figured that out.
We did. Well
And then
done.
but the guy who's insisting that there are bodies there says his heart's in a good place. Um no. Well, his heart is in a good place, but yours is not in a healthy place, my guy.
Mhm.
Like this, I don't know. But anyways, and that this whole exercise is why you won't see a shovel go in the ground occurs.
That's right. That is exactly right.
And just I'm a little on a little theology piece here about why you won't uh like why you're not going to find bones strewn around at these former Catholic places. It's because up until very recently, like Vatican II, we didn't even allow cremation.
Right.
And even now, as a Catholic, if you are cremated, your cremains, as they're called, have to be all kept together. You can't spread the ashes of a Catholic, or you
Huh,
shouldn't. Um,
really?
we have to be kept all together. So you can be cremated and you can be on the mantle or you can be put in the ground, but you can't, like, I will not be cremated. I'm a prior Vatican II kind of Catholic. But if you wanted to do that, you could be put in the ground, but you have to be all together. You cannot
Is that
be
right?
spread. Yeah, like you couldn't take the remains of, I mean, I guess you could, there's nothing stopping you except the rules of the church, but you
Right.
couldn't say, okay, I'm going to take some of you and have you turned into jewelry or whatever.
That's what I do. That's what I did with my mom's ashes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? You can't do
It's
that as a
you
Catholic.
can't do that as a Catholic. We're not
Hmm.
supposed to. Oh, there's a lot of things that Catholics do that you're not supposed to. That's called sinning. But yeah, you can't do that. So to say that these young men and women who chose a life of the clergy or in of a holy order, that they were just flinging body parts out the window, seems sort of counterintuitive to the fact that they were against even cremation of remains
Huh,
back then.
that's interesting.
Anyway.
Just for the record, Sheila, when it's my time to go, I want you to put my cremains in a Parmesan cheese shaker, okay, and just sprinkle me everywhere, just a little bit everywhere, just all the time, wherever you go.
I will get in your black Sprinter van and I will sprinter you in
Thank you,
every little backwoods cemetery that I know you would love.
thank you,
Just a little
thank
here,
you.
a little there. You know,
Yep,
I'll find
make
a
jewelry
nice,
out of me, like, I insist on being made into jewelry and being
I'll
trotted around with all of the people, yeah.
sprinkle you on the rodeo grounds at Pinoka.
Oh,
You'll be
yes.
everywhere.
Thank you,
You'll be in the dust on the
thank you,
cowboys.
thank
Okay,
you.
let's hit an ad break and then we will be right back with the rest of the show.
Hey, Toronto Rebel News fans, listen up. Rebel News is celebrating 10 years of fearless journalism with our 10th birthday bash, and you're invited to join us. Last week, hundreds of Rebel fans packed our Calgary party for an unforgettable night of music, food, and fun. Now it's Toronto's turn. Join us on Thursday, October 16th at 6 p.m. near Black Creek and Lawrence for a night you will not forget. Expect a lively evening with Rebel News journalists and crew, past and present, cocktails, hors d'oeuvres, and of course, a birthday cake.
Happy birthday! Happy 10 years, Rebel! There you go. That's what we're talking about there.
A fun photo booth with keepsakes and a full-on celebration of free speech, independent media, and the community that made it all possible.
Keep doing what you're doing. You guys are doing fantastic.
Keep at it. You guys have made change as far as I can see. Happy birthday, Rebel News. Let's keep going.
Keep up the good work and keep fighting for freedom. Just keep on doing what you're doing.
We'll also be holding a silent auction, including private lunches with yours truly, Ezra and Alexa. This isn't just a party, it's a celebration of what we built together. 10 years of telling the other side of the story and standing up for freedom. Tickets are going fast. Grab yours now at happybirthdayrebel.com before early bird pricing ends at midnight on Friday, October the 3rd. And if you want the ultimate Rebel experience, get a VIP ticket that includes dinner with Rebel journalists before the party. Space is limited, so secure your spot right now. Hello! We'll see you there, Toronto.
Oh, I can't wait for the Toronto party. I just can't wait for the
I
Toronto
know.
party.
She was delighted to see
I
her little face in that. There's a fly in
I
here.
I bet she would. Oh, you guys, it is black fly season on the
Oh,
prairies.
it's the
They are
worst.
atrocious right now, so pardon us if you see any little visitor. They're pets, okay? They're house pets at this point.
And I'm in a log house, so they're attracted to the logs. It's gross. Anyways, let's move ahead because we're way over time. Poilievre speaks about his letter to Liberal Justice Minister, abject failure, Sean Fraser, at everything he
Mhm.
touches, about BC property rights being eroded after a controversial ruling involving Cowichan tribes. Yeah, this is big bad. really bad. I'm glad he's talking about it because this is our activist courts at work.
Sarah Ritchie with the Canadian Press.
Thank
you wrote
you,
a
Sarah.
letter recently to the Justice Minister about the BC Supreme Court decision in
Yes.
the Cowichan case. What exactly do you think that the court got wrong that the government ought to argue?
Well, the court got property rights wrong. The court found in its ruling that the fee simple property rights that have existed for hundreds of years and are the foundation of our very economy should be overturned. That would devastate our entire economy. It is already causing investment to flee our country. People are not going to build factories, open up jobs, start businesses, or even buy homes if they think that their land could be confiscated and given to someone else. So we oppose this ruling, and we call on the federal government to make legal arguments at the appeal level to overturn it. We hope that the case is heard quickly so that we can put this matter to rest. We as Conservatives stand for property rights. We want all of the property owners in British Columbia and across Canada to know that we will protect your home. Your home belongs to you, and we will fight against any legal attempts to take it away from you. Thank you.
This is what you get in BC, though. They have a radical NDP government that adopted UNDRIP.
That's
And
right.
here we are.
That's right. With a justice system, like an activist justice system that upholds rulings like this. This is terrifying for the people of BC, where there are no treaties. So because there are no treaties, no property has been, or no land has been permanently ceded to the government. And so what happened was these First Nations came in and say, look, we have a historical claim over these enormous tracts of land that's been developed for over 100
In
years.
the Fraser River Valley.
Like the most expensive property in BC, okay? The most expensive property in BC. And an activist judge said, right, so we're just going to give it back, land back. Hashtag land back, everybody. It is crazy what's happening in BC. So yeah, Pierre Poilievre is right in hoping that they appeal it, that it's heard right away, and that it's overturned, because this is craziness.
Yeah, you do it to one of these judges' houses and they won't be like Mr. Landback anymore. Once you have to give back your $2.2 million lower mainland property, you'll understand what this means to the people of the Fraser River Valley who are very scared right now about what's going to happen to their property, not just their properties, but also their property value. If you're trying to, let's say you're trying to become a refugee to Alberta from British Columbia, and I wouldn't blame you, but now all of a sudden your property is not going to sell. You might have to sell it at a fire sale price because of the economic uncertainty being created by these bizarre rulings.
Well, wouldn't the government just love that?
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't they just love it if the settlers and colonizers were forced to sell their homes for pennies on the dollar and flee to Alberta? Wouldn't that make those socialists at the NDP happy? I'm sure it would.
Sure. We'll take all their productive people. I don't mind. I don't mind your productive types who are worried about government overreach. If you want to evacuate to Alberta,
we're happy to have you in Saskatchewan too. Come right next to me. Yeah.
I'll stamp your passport in the new country. Poilievre also saying things that made a lot of people, and by a lot of people, I mean crazy people on the left who I think it's perfectly fine to persecute Christians, throw smoke bombs in church, maybe. Sure. He said Christians may be the #1 group targeted with hate-based violence. That is true, by the way.
It is 100% the truth.
It is the truth globally. Absolutely. I've been to a site of Christian genocide in northern Iraq. Like I've seen they dug up the graveyards, the Christian graveyards. In fact, in I can't remember the name of the town, but they actually marked there's a fly in here. They marked their own houses because they were not scared of ISIS. They're like, yeah, they live the gospel every single day in towns like places in northern Iraq, Batnaya, behind the ISIS front line. Okay. They marked their own houses as Christian houses, knowing that would put them as targets for persecution, but they live the gospels. Like when when the gospel say you will be persecuted because of me, because you are a follower of me, they're like, yeah, it happened in real time for them. And because they were Christians, they knew exactly what the solution would be, and it would not be to deny the Lord thrice, like St. Peter. Let's
And that's exactly what we're seeing in Canada and more broadly in Western civilization, is a whole-scale attack on Christians. We are being persecuted. The Bible says we will be. Well, here it is, guys. Here it is.
We just are unaccustomed to it happening right now, but there are places of the world where it is a daily threat. You know, the Christians in Nigeria, the Christians in China, the Christians in some of the more horrible places of the world, the Middle East. Although, by the way, in the UAE, where Jews and Christians and Muslims live in peace, there are Catholic churches all over the place in the UAE. Right. Well, I think it has something to do with all the foreign nationals doing all the work there from the Philippines. But I was like, I can go to church in the UAE, and I was very excited about it. Anyways, Poilievre makes this note, and a lot of crazy people are mad at him, but he's absolutely true. But in Canada, I think us Christians are giving the Jews a real run for their money in the most persecuted department.
Good morning, Pierre. Willie Temtem with True North.
Sorry, with who?
True North.
True North.
This past week, we saw a church burning in Canada, a tragic incident at a church in Michigan, and over 100 incidents of church burning or vandalism since 2021 in Canada.
Yes.
What do you make of the sectarian strife seen targeting towards Christians? Do you think the government's doing enough to combat this, and what would you do?
I think it's terrible. No, the government is not doing enough, and I would do a lot more. So let's recap where we are. 100 churches have been burned. You hear almost nothing from the Liberal government about this. Christians may be the number one group that is victims of hate-based violence. But of course, it's not politically correct to say that. 100 terrorist attacks against Canadian churches. This anti-Christian hate has got to stop. We've seen with this Liberal government is the number of things they've done to allow this. One, they've separated people into groups. Their ideology seeks to identity politics divides one group against another, and then we're surprised when that leads to violence. Two, the Liberals have reduced criminal penalties for arson, so people are not afraid to get caught burning things down anymore. And three, they have failed to put law enforcement resources where they belong, which is to say going after criminals rather than targeting farmers, duck hunters, and professional sport shooters. So Conservatives would take exactly the opposite approach. We would bring in mandatory prison sentences for extortionists. We would crack down on hate crime, which is more than doubled under the Liberals, with tougher laws that throw criminals in prison. We used to make sure that the foreign criminals that are in our country illegally are kicked out of Canada, and we would redirect resources away from banning duck hunters, farmers, and sport shooters towards more police and border services that will keep all Canadians safe. Because frankly, Canadians of all faiths, including Christians, deserve to worship in peace.
I like how he calls them terrorist attacks. Like, I'm happy that we're starting to call them what they actually are. Every church burning is an act of domestic terrorism. In Canada, we have to start looking at who is perpetrating these acts of domestic terrorism. It is Antifa and activist groups that whip crazy people into doing crazy things. And then society is left holding the bag because there is no punishment for these people. There is no punishment for these people. There is no expectation that they're going to have to pay a price for this. It's a get out of jail free card.
Right.
It's nuts. But that we're calling them terrorists, good. We should call them terrorists because they are.
100%. 100%. If this stuff were happening in Nigeria, the Liberals would be up in arms. You know,
right.
If this stuff were happening in Russia, they would be up in arms. But because it's happening here under their watch and actually enabled by their watch, because we've just heard about the reduced sentences, but we also know that this is a deeply anti-Christian government. They have gone after pro-life organizations,
Defunded them.
defunded them, and these are not organizations that they're crisis pregnancy counseling centers, which I think is, if you are on the left, crisis pregnancy centers are a deeply feminist thing, in that we tell women and girls faced with an unplanned pregnancy that they can do it. You can do this. We'll be here to help. But the feminists of the left and the Justin Trudeau government are there to say, no, you can't. And there's only one way out of this. And
abort your child.
Get rid of that baby. And so look, my unplanned pregnancy is 27. Okay.
Mine is 30.
Yeah, you can do
this. Yeah, you can do it.
You can do it.
If Sheila Gunn Reid and Lise Merle cobbled a life from themselves out of an unanticipated young pregnancy. How old were you, Sheila Gunn Reid?
19.
I was 17. 17 years old. So if we can cobble a life together with our two little guys, like underfoot all the time, on a hip, just doing life.
Going to work in school. Yep.
Any woman can. And as a matter of fact, that experience with the first baby was so good, was so fulfilling for me, that I went on to have 5 more. Okay. Yeah. I loved it. I loved every part of it right from the very beginning. And it's because there were people that found me and said, you can do this. Of course you can do this. This is what women do and have for since the beginning of time. Of course you can. And I did.
Yeah. And going back to the liberal attacks on this, like they made summer camps that were run by Christians, but also not run by Christians, but just were not willing to sign away their values to qualify for the summer jobs grant, while they gave it to terrorist linked organizations. We've seen what the liberals think of Christians. Justin Trudeau, the Catholic, as I said, there are a lot of things that self-proclaimed Catholics do that are not within the catechism, and Justin Trudeau is a great example of that. He wouldn't sign the nomination papers of anybody who is pro-life.
That is insane.
It's crazy.
It is absolutely upside down and backwards. Like in what? Oh, sorry. My kids, sorry. My
lunchtime. Okay, let's go to, I've got, it's okay, it's lunchtime. Let's go to Larry Brock, who the Eastern Boomers have robbed us of being our AG, our Justice Minister. Larry Brock could be that for us, but you took him from us, Eastern Boomers. He goes off on no mention of Christianity in Bill C-9, while communities beg for protection from arsonists and firebombers. Let's hear from Larry while Lise sorts out her hungry children.
And let's not forget, there's absolutely zero reference to Christianity. Christianity is under attack in this country. I don't know what was funny about Christianity being under attack, but nevertheless, Madam Speaker, churches have been burned, Christian churches have been burned at an alarming rate. Between May of 2021 and December of 2023, 33 Christian churches have been burned in this country, with the vast majority being arson-based. For years, communities cried out for protection. What they got instead from their federal Liberal government was silence. And now, years late, the government has tabled a bill that, quite frankly, feels more like a political gesture than a serious plan.
So Bill C-9 is the amendments to the criminal code that would protect places of worship. It's to amend the criminal code around hate propaganda, hate crime, and access to religious or cultural places. But they drafted this entire piece of legislation without even acknowledging that Christians have been the targets of vandalism, murder in our churches in North America, and desecration of our holy sites, smoke bombs, when they're trying to have worship services. They drafted this entire piece of legislation without ever even mentioning who the targets have been. It's more about Jews, and fair enough, and mosques.
Yeah. Yep. That's exactly it. No, I like the conservatives. I like the conservatives' plan to address hate crimes, to bring in tougher laws that result in prison sentences, and for mandatory prison sentences, because this whole because the way that we are letting them out on bail, the people that do this, or just jail and bail, like catch and release,
Yep.
obviously isn't working.
Let's get to the immigration stuff, because then we can also show Tamara's clip, because I know we're quickly running out of time.
Oh,
I don't want to
so
go
good.
too much over, because I have something to film with Lise right after this. But in a poll that should shock nobody who's paying attention, this has been the same sort of polling data for years, and it goes across political parties. This is a completely nonpartisan issue, unless you are a politician, right? Because the voters have consistently said the same thing. Majority of Canadians continue to oppose new immigration. And this is like NDPers, liberals. They also oppose new immigration. And these polls go back like the better part of 5 years, which was why it's sort of shocked me that the Conservatives were so late to this, because, you know, to win an election as a Conservative, you do have to get a number of Liberals to cross over to you on, and they were right to talk about economic issues, but they didn't really talk about, until it was too late,
Yes.
what was causing the economic issues, what's causing the affordability issues. And that's outside of inflation and taxes. It's supply and demand.
Yeah. Yeah, they missed the boat on a bunch of really important issues that could have won them the election. They were so caught up in being worried about being labeled by the lamestream media as racist, as homophobic, as transphobic, as a bigot, as a whatever. If the Conservative Party of Canada would have addressed these things in a timely manner in the lead up to the election, they would be governing Canada right now. So it's really too bad that they took so long to get on the bandwagon. But that we're addressing it now is real good. Just related to this, Saskatchewan came out with another announcement just yesterday saying that we have a new population high in the province. 1.3 million people. I'm like, where are we going to put the rest of, like, where are we putting them? We are absolutely full. We are absolutely full.
That's like the size of Edmonton. You have room. You just don't have infrastructure.
We're full.
Don't tell anybody.
The inn is full, Sheila, Gunn, Reid. Okay. The infrastructure we do have, our hospitals, our schools, our public services, like, all being overly extended by all of these newcomers to the province. And yet we're just supposed to, pom-poms, more people. Where are you putting them? Where are we putting them? You know what? We're full.
Do not Toronto per Saskatoon, okay? You can come, but leave your politics behind. Like, I take the Tennessee and Texas approach to this. Yes, we will take you, but don't show up here and start Ottawaing us. You realize why it's bad where you left?
Yeah.
And then integrate.
Yeah. Welcome to Saskatchewan culture.
Feel the culture of freedom.
Yes.
Your friends and neighbors will help you. Please don't ask the government to do it. Yes. You know? Anyway. Now,
but a moratorium on the whole thing across the board nationally, that's more than appropriate at this time.
I'm happy to take them as refugees from other places. Like, I'm happy if you are fleeing Toronto. Okay.
Right.
But I don't want to find out that you are looking for the next Olivia Chow to lead Regina. I just don't want to hear it. I'm not having it. You can get out then. Get out. Let's go to this story that Tamara Ugolini has been on, because it is so good.
It's the Daily Delight, this video.
It's the Daily Delight. If you know this cop and you know the OPP detachment that he's at, call his sergeant and He's
the
great.
kid needs a raise. The kid needs a raise. Just watch him. I partially have a little crush on this kid. Okay, watch.
And he's just wait, because he's not partisan. He's just saying you are not going to abuse the police service line because you don't like this lady that's here that you didn't even say to leave. Like, that's the crazy part. They called the cops. I'll tell you this. Let's just go back a little bit because it's a lot. The story is Tamara gets wind along with Joe Warmington, sweet Joe Warmington at the Toronto Sun. Love Joe. That there's a Tim Hortons. I forget which town it's in. But anyways, there's a Tim Hortons where they are, look, people are already protesting. This is of national significance. It's at Picton, and that they are trying to arrange immigration marriages with minors to keep the temporary foreign workers here. And
like,
so
do you want to marry my family member, young girl, young Canadian?
17.
That's what's happening. Really?
Tamara went there. And so a lot of people are commenting on this, but they don't know what trespass law is. Tim Hortons is presumed to be a public place, as in it's open to the public until they tell you to leave. That's how you can kick out loiterers, vagrants, whatever, right? Unruly customers, they can tell you to leave and you have to go. But up until that time, it's open to the public. You're a member of the public. It's like a reception desk. If that's where they receive the public until the public is acting a fool or for whatever reason. I don't think you should be forced to do business with anybody you don't want to. That's slavery. I will not bake the cake. Thank you so much. So Tamara goes in there asking questions. Instead of asking her to leave, they called their boss. The boss calls the cops. And the cops show up. And just this young man is
not
he's serving and protecting, and he does not want to be used to abuse the civil rights of other people just because he's wearing a uniform. And I firmly believe this is how the majority of cops are. I just don't know how you go through depot or training or whatever to put on that uniform to be a bad guy. Now, the bad guys get a lot of attention, and I feel like we're constantly interacting with the bad guys. But this guy's a great, great cop, and he deserves all the compliments he can handle. And I know, again, there are a lot of you cops out there. I know. You're not a bad guy, and I know you feel exactly like this cop. So this cop for me is an avatar for all of you guys out there, because I know you guys would react the exact same way, good cops of the world. Let's watch.
The owner called, but he's not here. So he's claiming
watch this absolute
that gentleman who was trespassed came into the store.
Not the gentleman, the lady.
The lady.
The one who's holding the...
Yeah, and what's wrong with that?
So he said that no one, like, she's trespassing in the private property.
How is she trespassing?
Like, he was, like, standing in the lobby.
She's an independent journalist. She was never trespassed from this property, and she has her 100% rights to be here. Just because your boss doesn't like the fact that an independent journalist is in here video recording, that's not up to him. She has the right to do that.
I can call him and you can call him.
I'm not going to, no. I'm not going to talk to him. You tell him that she has all the right to be here. I'm not going to entertain that. You tell that to Mohammed. I'm sorry if I'm being crass with you, but you relay that to Mohammed, that I'm not even entertaining that portion of it, of this lady being here.
If any media is
it doesn't matter. They have all the rights in the world to do it.
You tell Mohammed. You tell him that I am not entertaining that. You call Mohammed and tell Mohammed that I am not entertaining that. And she can be here as an independent journalist.
Right.
Bravo, young man. Bravo.
Nobody told Tamara to leave. Tamara says, and she said she had no idea why the cops were called. She's like, I'm just standing there recording, and then all of a sudden the cops show up, and she's like, I didn't realize they were there for me. And I guess the cops didn't realize they were there for her either.
There she is. There she is with her little double and her phone, just being like, what is even happening here? But no, truly, high praise for this OPP officer. We need more good guys like this in this world. This guy's going to get nominated for some award. We're not sure yet, but we definitely want to know you better, OPP officers, okay? And I can't help but notice, Sheila Gunn Reid, that neither of those OPP officers look to be diversity hires.
No.
These are two boys
No,
named
sir.
like Sean and Brett.
Chad.
And they're just good kids that have absolutely no time for this, because while these guys were attending the Tim Hortons for Tamara Ugolini's staying in it,
some crackhead still in a car somewhere.
There's a bike being stolen or something terrible is happening. Like, more of these guys in the world, please. And thank you. As soon as possible.
Again, I believe this is the majority of the police of the world. The bad dudes love to get in front of a camera and show everybody what a bunch of control freaks they are. This guy is just absolutely excellent. And you know what? I think everybody in the Tim Hortons learned a lesson that day. And I think that's really important.
You're going to have to call Muhammad and tell him.
You know what? I almost want to call Muhammad and tell him, like, something quite forceful in how he said that.
Yeah. I think Muhammad learned a lesson yesterday. And so did the people at that Tim Hortons. And well done, Tamara Ugolini. You're such a treat. Just a peach.
She was like, I had no idea. The cops are there for me. She's been marched out of a mall before. Should we do the chats then the Daily Cringe, or the Daily Cringe then the chats? I have two, actually, Daily Cringes.
I like chats and then cringe.
Okay, let's do chats and then cringe. Let's start here. And then, before you guys go, I want to tell you, Ezra's on InfoWars, I think right now.
Shush your mouth. It is.
So
we have to hurry. We have to hurry this along then.
I know. And I'll watch again later. Because one time when Ezra was on InfoWars, I watched Alex Jones eat an entire dinner plate-sized hamburger during the interview with Ezra. There was like a paper bag shows up on the desk. And, you know, like Alex Jones, he just streams for hours at a time. You gotta keep your energy up. And the burger gets dropped off, and then the burger comes out, and then they cut to Ezra, and then like half the burger's gone, and then they cut to Ezra, and then come back to Alex, and then like there's a corner of it left, and then Ezra talks some more, and they come back, and the burger is gone, and it's just like garbage, like a crumpled up bag. And I swear to God in heaven, the burger was like that big around. It was like a dinner plate, like an actual dinner plate, and Alex Jones, God love him, he destroyed it.
That's incredible. And if you ever want to know how to make me shut up on this live stream for long enough for somebody else to get a word in edgewise, okay, it is to deliver me food. Skip the dishes, obviously.
Skip right into my belly. So anyways, after we're done here, you guys should pop over and watch Ezra on InfoWars, because Lord knows I'm gonna. Okay.
Deal.
Day 2. Love you, Buffalo Girls Support Network for every day he's telling us a DEI project that's wasting money. This is day 2. You can go back to yesterday.
The Silver Feet?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Yep.
Okay. Support Network for Indigenous Women and Women of Color, Victoria, BC Project, Reconciliation, Equity Voices, Empowering Indigenous to SLGBTQI plus communities. Fund amount approximately $500,000. It's always $500,000, and it's always like to grow capacity. What does that mean? Capacity building fund.
It means to bribe people into saying the things that they want them to say.
I think it's just so that 5 people involved or 4 people involved can make $125 million a year doing nothing.
Sure. Absolutely it is. Absolutely. But what a grotesque waste.
Yeah.
What a disgusting waste.
Again, what could that be better spent on? Anything? I think
literally anything.
Alex Greer gives us 279. No chat. Alex Greer 279. Know the truth. Thank you so much. P. Schofield 10. P. Schofield.
Don't talk to us about our love of P. Schofield. Okay. He came to our birthday party all the way from Colorado.
Colorado,
you guys. It was such a supreme pleasure to meet P. Schofield, because he chats with us all the time on this program. Go ahead and read what he said. We thank you. Thank you,
Yes.
buddy. We love
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Now, I have to tell you, I did not get an opportunity to give Ezra your gift. I still have it with me, but I'm bringing it to Toronto this weekend because I'm speaking at the Student Journalism Conference. Actually, I'm running the Student Journalism Conference it's sponsored by the Democracy Fund and I believe the Independent Press Gallery. And actually, the young man who asked Poilievre the question about the burning churches, Waleed Tamtam, graduate of the Student Journalism Conference. And I just knew he would go on to do great things. And he is. So anyways, he says, it was a blast to meet you in Calgary. Thanks, Sheila, for passing the package along to Ezra. I've got it. I'm bringing it with me directly to Toronto. Looking forward to a future visit to the new country.
Yes, sir. Yes, we'll stamp your passport, Peace Schofield.
Definitely. Okay, sevenfold 777 gives us $5. Joseph Goebbels and the Nazi propaganda machine used the same tactics to brainwash and indoctrinate children. Stalinists did too. Leninists did too. Get them young, get them early.
It's a socialist construct. Of course they did. Yep.
Wonder Woman Wells gives us $5 and says, in 1 week, there were 3 separate murders. A baby, a young lady, and a domestic violence-related murder. Did that make the front page news? No, the corrupt band councils ensure secrecy.
I wonder where Wonder Woman Wells was talking, where this happened.
Yeah. It would be hard to find out because, of course, the mainstream media isn't covering it. You'd have to go directly to police press releases.
Where they obfuscate around every detail that would give you any nugget of information.
Can I tell you my big problem with the missing and murdered Indigenous women thing?
Please.
Is that there are way more missing and murdered Indigenous men. But we don't talk about that. They sort of get forgotten. And I mean, a lot of it has to do with the fact that there are, who's committing the murders against Indigenous men? It's other Indigenous men. But regardless, why aren't we talking about the missing and murdered Indigenous men? There are way more of them than missing and murdered Indigenous women. There just are. Those are the facts. Cicely Bardwell, regular supporter. $10. All the original settlers and early Canadians are dying or gone. All we're left with is the people who condemn. Okay. Jay Peterson gives us $20 and says, next week, please discuss all the dystopian freedom laws the Liberals are bringing in. Yeah, we definitely should. Did I get to all the chats? I feel like I missed some. Did I?
I think that's it, Sheila.
Okay, I got them all. Okay, let's hit the first Daily Cringe. In commemoration of Truth and Reconciliation Day, here's Justin Trudeau getting caught on the beach surfing on this very somber holiday that he brought in. By the way, it's not like it's just like, what do you want me to do? It's Boxing Day. No, this is the day that he brought in where we're all supposed to feel bad and atone for our generational sins, our generational curses.
This was a moment, wasn't it? It just was.
A rare moment of good journalism. Let's go to this.
Visit us in Yuki. Next time, stay with us. We're friendly, I swear. Yeah. Have a good trip, guys. Take it.
In person, sir. Trudeau and his wife are then seen hiking the beach near the $18 million oceanside home that they have rented. It's a home dubbed Surfer's Paradise. In a tweet late Thursday, Trudeau explained he did spend time on the phone Thursday talking to residential school survivors. His office said he spoke to 8 individuals, but that explanation was not completely satisfactory.
Traveling on September 30th was a mistake, and I regret it. The first National Day of Truth and Reconciliation was a time for Indigenous people and non-Indigenous people alike to reflect and connect, think about the past, but also focus on the future. I want to thank Chief Casimir of the Kamloops for the conversation we had over the weekend, in which I apologized for not being there with her and her community for this important day. And I committed to going to visit the Kamloops Teswekmuk community in the coming weeks. There's a lot of work for us all to do.
I just hate seeing his face and hearing his voice so much. It gives me internal ick. Level 10 internal ick.
Oh, my skin is just crawling. Like just crawling. And I see that and I'm like, I can't believe they reelected the Liberals after 10 years of that BS.
And now we have Mark Carney and Diana Fox Carney gallivanting around the world, staying at $18 million waterfront properties. Like, of course they are.
What do you want us to do? Stay home and fix the problems of the country we were elected to lead? What do you want us to do, Lise?
It's almost too much.
Honest to goodness.
Too much. Anyway.
The very first Truth and Reconciliation Day, he took off.
You know, later this afternoon, I'm going to the beach because what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And if this is how we acknowledge Truth and Reconciliation Day in Canada, well, then I'm all for it. It's a sunny day. It's beautiful. I'm going to the beach.
It's almost like he knows it's BS.
Yeah, almost.
It's almost. What's the other one? What was the other cringe? I forgot what it is. Oh, Daily Cringe. BC Conservative House Leader. And I know this really prickles the daylights out of Drea Humphrey, who's both Black and Indigenous, in case anyone was going to accuse her of being racist. House Leader Aaliyah Warbus. Speaking on this podcast with a pretty open-minded chief, if I recall correctly. Good grief. Anyways, she says her ancestors never asked for the light bulb. Okay. Let's just hear this because I've got things to say. Like, okay, thanks. You're on a podcast. Like, there's a lot of very recent inventions all around you, including those eyeglasses on your face. But anyways, let's just hear what she has to say.
Okay. You want the average Canadian to feel less bad. You want them to see the residential schools as mostly good for Indigenous people. Look, what did Tim Thielman say in that one post? We gave you the light bulb. Well, guess what? We didn't ask for any of that.
Yeah. Okay.
You want the average.
Okay. You didn't ask for it? Okay. Give it back. You didn't ask for the wheel? Give it back. You didn't ask for electricity? Give it back. Can we just say that our two cultures are getting together? Like, this is the divisive garbage. It's like, you have, did you ask for those eyeglasses? Optometry on your face? Give it back then, if you want to be divisive. I take the viewpoint that you got electricity and we absorbed some of your culture, and I appreciate it and I'm glad for it. And can't we just be part of the cultural mosaic of Canada? Apparently not. They didn't want the light bulb. We forced it on them, I guess.
Well, it is just crazy. Aaliyah, First Nations people were Stone Age people at the point of contact in North America. Okay. They did not get to experience the societal and the cultural leaps forward that Europe did. Okay. Through the Bronze Age, through the Iron Age, through the Dark Ages. Okay. They did. First Nations people in Canada had to make up a lot of ground that you didn't ask for the light bulb. What an absolutely insane thing to say. And you're right, Sheila Gunn Reid. You don't like the way our civilized society developed through Europe over thousands of years? Then by all means, off into the bush you go to live the natural way. Okay,
off you go, Aaliyah Warbus. Off you go. I'll drive so that you don't have to take a canoe. I'll drive you. But you know what? There are plenty of Indigenous people who are like, yep, I like the light bulb. Thanks. Aaliyah, you don't speak for me. But she keeps using this word we all the time, as though she's some sort of spokesperson for all Indigenous people instead of just herself. And I hate this divisive nonsense. We didn't ask for the light bulb. Okay, Aaliyah. I'm pretty sure that a lot of Indigenous people are very pleased to have electricity. And you don't get to speak for them. But if you don't want it, off you go. I'll drive. And the worst part is that she is the Conservative House Leader. John Rustad, what are you doing?
Okay, we need to talk about how it is not radical to expect Conservative leaders to have conservative values. Okay, and as long as we have some of these left-wing lunatics infiltrating conservative parties, we're always going to have problems. I say we need a big flushing. Okay, we need to drain the swamp, as Donald Trump liked to say in the conservative movement in Canada. Because if you have these thoughts and beliefs, you're not conservative. You're just not.
I'm just so irritated by her self-appointed spokesperson for all Indigenous people. It's so divisive. We didn't ask for the light bulb. I bet some of you did. I call me crazy, but I think some of you did. I feel like a lot of people don't want to go back in time. And I think it is just undermining the cohesion of society to talk like this. I hate it.
It is. And to insinuate that Western culture has had a net negative impact on First Nations culture, when really our culture has thousands and thousands and thousands of years more rapid development than First Nations culture. So if we're not all cultures are created equal, right? And if we're looking as to which one can help the other accelerate the fastest, it's probably Western culture accelerating in Indigenous culture, not the other way around. And this is what we've gotten all wrong on Truth and Reconciliation Day and on this file in Canada to begin with.
Don't understand why we can't all be Canadians working towards a better Canada. Instead, we've got politicians, alleged conservatives saying, no, you thrust the light bulb on. I did not consent to this light bulb, white people. What are you doing? Like, why can't we just say, look, let's all get to be a part of a better, more cohesive, proper functioning Canada where we can have jobs and work together and where we have running water and we don't have to worry about crime in our communities, and that we have this sort of idea of what it means to be a Canadian. And she's like, I did not consent to this light bulb. I just don't know how that this woman is a thought leader in John Rustad's conservative movement.
John Rustad did recently march out Eleanor Sturko. Okay,
Yes.
perp walked her out of
Next
the BC.
Next one.
Aaliyah is the next one. Okay, she is Eleanor 2.0. John Rustad, make it happen. But we want to keep an eye on BC politics because
this stuff, like, this is nonsense. I'm a fan of economic reconciliation. Drill, baby, drill. Do it in Indigenous communities. Make sure that the young people have jobs. So that they can have a proper future, and the undignified reliance on government.
Along would come Aaliyah Warbus and say,
excuse me, we didn't ask for these pickups.
Pipelines. Yeah,
we didn't ask for these pickups. We didn't ask for this $500,000 house in Fort Mackay. We didn't ask for this. Excuse me. Yeah.
Anyway.
We did not consent to this snowmobile that we were able to buy without financing it, thanks to our well-paying jobs in Canada's oil patch. We did not consent. Like, give me a break, lady. This is such divisive nonsense, and it keeps people siloed and not talking to each other. And I despise it.
There is no room for this in the conservative movement in Canada. So I look forward to paying a lot more attention to Aaliyah Warbus. She sounds fascinating.
She sounds delightful.
Yeah.
Good job, John Rustad. Great job. Okay, let's end the show because we're way over time and you and I have to get talking. And I want you all to go over to InfoWars now.
Okay.
And watch Ezra. No, you can't. You have to stay with me because we're talking about something after this. But everybody else, just off to InfoWars. Ezra's ripping it up over there.
Go see Alex.
See Alex, and Ezra is bringing a different perspective, I think, to some of the InfoWars viewers, whom he said in our morning call he loves and respects greatly. Mm-hmm. He says he has great admiration for them. So everybody, that's the show for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks, Lise, for putting up with me for an hour and a half, and everybody behind the scenes who does the exact same thing every day. Thank you, guys. Thank you to those of you who pitch in to keep the lights on. I know many of you are regular donors. Thank you for choosing us when you have a lot of people that you can choose. Thanks to you who do the free thing of just helping us get around the censorship algorithm. Share the stream, interact with the stream. That helps us get served up in front of more eyeballs. It's free, it's easy, but it is the sort of help that, you can't even quantify with dollars. So we appreciate you for that. And I think that's it. I'll see you back tomorrow, Lise. We've got the Buffalo panel on Western Wednesdays here at Rebel News. We'll have 2 interesting Western-based people with interesting takes on the news of the day. And as I've taken to saying, if you find us offensive, maybe don't find us at all.
Do you agree with me? It is time to make Canada great again. And that is why we at Rebel News have teamed up with MCGA hats to introduce, the fashion sensation of 2025. Oh, and by the way, these beautiful hats, they are made in Canada. We don't rely on cheap imports coming over from China. So what are you waiting for, folks? Show your pride. This is the perfect thing for a patriot to wear, or maybe there's a patriot in your life that you would like to gift such a hat. Please go to mcgahats.ca. That's mcgahats.ca. Don't be shy about it. Wear this cap. Let everybody know you want to make Canada great again.